All right, welcome to today's video. So how do you determine the right inverter, the right battery, the right solar panel, the right cables that can power a solar need? Okay, so someone comes to you and say, okay, I want to power so building, I want to power so amount of appliances. How do you go about determine the size of solar materials that will be needed to power that need? That is what solar system design and sizing is all about. That is what it does. That is what it goes on to teaches you. So in this video, I'm going to explain the concept, help you understand the concept of solar system design, and also give you a guideline and hint, tips, how you can go about conducting a solar system sizing and design. Okay, so this topic is very interesting. Solar systems sizing and design, very interesting, and one of the most important aspects of solar system engineering and installation. So as a solar installer or as an engineer, so this is one of the most important concepts you need to really understand. You need to really understand the concept, and also you need to understand the process of conducting system sizing and design, because as an engineer, this is where you spend most of your skills, okay, working on. Okay, so this aspect of this training is more like the soft skills of solar system. Okay, not only just knowing how to tie the screws and the nuts and all that. Okay, you also need to be able to explain the system. You need to explain every single equipment, why is needed, why is suggested, or why is recommended. You need to explain that, and it's system sizing and design that can help you achieve that. Okay, so in this video I want to explain to you what this is all about, and also the requirements and processes of how this thing is done when it comes to solar system. Okay, so let's get started. Now, to start with, let's first of all understand, okay, what is solar system sizing and design. So simply put, solar system sizing and design is simply the process of determining the correct capacity of inverter, battery, solar panels, charge controllers, cables, protective kits that is required to meet a user's solar energy demand reliable and safely. Now, reliable and safely, very essential, very important. Not just providing light, not just powering a home. Okay, when you power a home, it needs to be reliable, and it needs to be safe. Okay, if these two things are out there, you have not actually achieved your goal. So that is the essence of solar system sizing and design. Okay, a client comes to you, I want to power a home. You don't just do a guesswork. Okay, if you do a guesswork, you say, okay, I want to power, you just dash out a list of equipment to buy. You can either undersize the system. Undersizing the system means that you are giving the person recommended product or recommended material that will not be able to power his need, or you can oversize the system. If you're oversizing a system, that means you're putting for the person excess material for the job, which can require unnecessary cost. Okay, imagine person paying ×2 of what he's supposed to pay. Okay, all those things are unnecessary. So solar sizing will give you the opportunity to quote the right capacity that will be needed to power the right need. Okay, so basically, when you are quoting a system, when you are talking about solar sizing and design, there are few things you need to put in mind. Your goal of sizing a system. Okay, one of them is to supply sufficient power. Okay, efficient power is necessary. Okay, whatever the person need, the person can come to you and say, okay, I need to power social appliances to a certain amount of hours or a day. So you need to be able to, the essence of conducting a system sizing and design, so that you'll be able to power the person's need sufficiently according to his need. Okay, so your solar sizing process or method will enable you to quote the right material that will be able to power that person's need sufficiently. So another thing again is to avoid overload. Okay, now what this means is that after you have installed your system, your client don't need to be experiencing unnecessary beep from your inverter due to overload. Overload means that the system is powering more than its capacity. So all these things will be taken care of once a system is properly sized. So another reason is to extend the battery or the equipment lifespan. You know, when you over labor the batteries due to undersizing, maybe they are supposed to use 2 of this product, they are using 1, and all the weight of the system is going on that one device you are using instead of 2. But let's say, for example, you are supposed to use two tubular batteries, you are using one batteries. So the load two tubular batteries can carry, you are powering it on one battery. So that battery is likely not going to last long. That is the result of undersizing. That is the result of not properly sizing a solar system. So it can damage or reduce the lifespan of equipment used in powering a solar system. Okay. So another reason is to reduce cost and system failure. Okay, so when you did not when you oversize a system, you might likely incur unnecessary costs for your clients. Okay, let's say where you're supposed to use 5 panel, you are using 10 panel. So those 10 panel is just a waste, is an excess. Okay, is over costing. Okay, or let's say also where you are supposed to provide 5 panel, you are providing 3 panels. Okay, so that system will not work efficiently, it's going to fail. Okay, so all these things are the reason why system sizing are very important, very important. In fact, system sizing is going to save you over, I would say, 60% of challenges you face in site. Okay, because once you do solar things wrong, you are going to experience a lot of challenges, and sizing your system properly is going to save you about 60% of those challenges you face. Other ones, I will leave it to your to the device you choose, maybe also your installer, if it's properly done and all that. But system sizing, very essential. Okay, so with this said, let's look at the 2 key terms that are mentioned when it comes to that system sizing and design. So the 2 key terms there is sizing. First of all is sizing, and sizing is all about determining the capacity of solar material needed to power a demand. So this has to do with determining the size of the inverter, the battery, the solar panel, the protective kit, breakers, circuit breakers, and all that, cables. Okay, that is what it does. If you see, there is more like a 2 terms, sizing, and we also have design. Okay, now design has to do with the look. Okay, so it determines the look. There are different types of solar system. We have an hybrid solar system. We have a grid tie solar system, which is a system that work with the NEPA, the grid. We also have off-grid solar system, which is a system that doesn't rely on the grid, the NEPA, only the solar system powers. Then also we have inverter system. Okay, a system whereby the solar panel is not present, just inverter charging with NEPA. So these are different types of solar system. Okay, also design also has to do with the device you choose, the look of it. There are different types of designs of inverter, batteries, charge controllers. So at the end of the day, okay, the design you pick will determine the outlook of your system. Okay, both the type of the system and also the types of the brands and the designs of the equipment you select. So when you put all these things together, this is what solar sizing and design tends to cover. Okay, so since we have talked about this, we understand these 2 terms here. The sizing aspect, which deals with determining the right capacity of the equipment, and also the design, which deals with the types of solar system you are doing, and the types and the designs and types looks of the devices you are going to be using. Okay, now with this mention, let's look at the key informations you need. Okay, is information that you're going to gather, is data that determines right system sizing. So it's information that you're going to gather to help you size your system properly. So what are those information? What are the information you need to properly size a system? So when a client calls you and say, okay, engineer and installer, I want to install a solar system in my home, at my office, at my factory. So these are the questions you need to ask him. These are the data you need to collect from the person. Okay, so you're going to ask the person, what do you want to apply? So the first information you need to size a system is the list of electrical appliances to be powered by solar. So you're going to ask the client, so what devices do you want to power with solar? So you're supposed to have a table data to collect all this information. So you're going to connect the list of electrical appliances to be powered by the solar system. Also, you're going to connect the rated power. So the rated power of the appliances in watt, which is how many energy does that appliances consume. So you're going to be collecting those informations and data. You need those data to determine the right recommendation to give them. So you're going to need, okay, the rated power of all the whole appliances. If they are going to power fan, fridge, AC, bulbs and all that, you have the, what is the wattage, what is the horsepower of the AC, what is the wattage of the fridge, the television, the fan. You are going to collect them all of that. You're also going to collect the quantity of the appliance, how many of the AC are you powering, how many of lighting point are you powering, how many of fridge are you powering. You gather all those information with their wattage. Okay, so another information you need to also collect is daily use. You ask them, how many hours a day do you use these appliances, how many hours a day do you use fridge, how many hours a day do you use your lighting point, how many hours a day do you use your pumping machine. So you gather all this information. Okay, these are going to be tabled. You're going to need all these data. So another thing you need to, now this might not be from your client. Okay, so this can be based on your observation, or you can also get this information from geometrical stations in your region. This like the people that take care of weather forecast and all that, they can tell you the peak sun hours. Now what this means is that how many hours a day in your region or in the client region, the place you want to install the solar, how many hours a day do they get strong sun shining very well, how many hours a day. Okay, depending on the region, depending on the temperature of the region and all that, peak sun hours can differ. Okay, so in Abuja here we work with about 4 to 6 peak sun hours. So in your region it can be different. Okay, your region, your country, it can be different, but you need this information because this is what you are going to be using to determine the amount of energy you can produce with your solar panel. So you need to know your peak sun hours. So another data again you need is the type of system you want to install with them. Okay, the type of system, solar system you want to install for the people. So if you are installing a system for a client where they don't have access to grid, you know you're going to be going off grid. It's going to be an off grid system. Okay, so if you're also installing for a client, okay, their location, they have NEPA light but it's not consistent, so it's going to be like more like on grid system. It's going to depend on your grid to charge and also to function effectively. So if you're also giving them, maybe you want to combine the two, you want NEPA and solar to work together. Okay, solar can charge, electricity can charge, you can send power to grid, reduce your cost and all that. That is hybrid system. So you need to make a choice for the client based on their demand and also based on their need. Okay, but basically these are the information you need to properly size a solar system. So once you have all these data, you can easily make your calculations and be able to recommend effective solar system setup for your clients. Okay, so with this said, what are the steps to sizing your solar system? Okay, so these are the steps. First, you do your load assessment. The load assessment is where you use this previous information I shared with you to gather all the whole data from your clients. This normally involves you doing what is called site inspection. You go to the client's house, you tell them, because you don't have to depend, some of these clients may not know product ratings and device rating and all that. They might not give you the right information you need. So you have to go to the client's the site's location, you assess all the whole equipment that is going to be powered by the solar, you take information. That is what you call load assessment, or you call it load audit. So you check all the whole devices, you see their power rating, amount of energy they can, you check their numbers, know the kind of product they are. Okay, know if they are energy friendly or they are high energy consuming devices. All this information is very, very important. After you have done your load analysis, then you start to size all the devices one after the other. So you're going to be sizing inverter. Inverter is going to be the first electrical equipment you are going to size, because what you size from inverter will determine other devices. Okay, so you size your inverter after your load analysis, load assessment. You size your inverter, you size your battery, you size your solar panel. Then you can now size your charge controller. If charge controller is part of your design, you size it. Then you also size your cabling. Now, why I said if charge controller is part of your design, you can decide to use a different type of inverter that has an inbuilt charge controller. In that situation, you'll not be needing charge controller. But if you're using a different inverter that doesn't have inbuilt charge controller, you will also need charge controller. So you also be able to size your charge controller. Then you size your cable. Then you size your protective kit. Your protective kit are those devices that is going to protect your system from damaging short circuits and all that. Okay, so once you have done this, you'll be able to recommend to the client that this is the amount of battery you need, this is the amount of inverter you need, this is the amount of solar panel you need. And at the end of the day, you'll be able to get the proper cost that is going to give the client efficient and sufficient energy to power their need. Okay, so these are the steps. This is the process of conducting a solar system sizing and design. So basically that is it for this video. Just want to explain the concept of solar system sizing and design. I hope it's clear enough. Okay, so in the next video we are going to be starting with the first step in our process, which is load assessment. So let me walk you through on how you can assess a load, how you can conduct a load audit for your client, and to be able to ascertain the proper energy capacity you need to deliver for a site. Okay, so I will see you in the next one.